"Get out of this house, Mom. You are no longer part of this family. Get the hell out." Those were the exact words my son screamed at me at 8:47 on the night of Tuesday, November 12th. He didn't know that I had spent decades learning to document what others prefer to ignore, and for the last 3 years living under his roof, I had been doing exactly that. Every receipt, every text message, every witness, everything was saved. I took my suitcase without saying a word, without tears, without begging. I just looked my son in the eyes and said with a calmness that even surprised me, "I'll see you soon. Very soon." What he didn't imagine was that in exactly 17 days, a certified envelope would arrive at his door, and what that envelope contained would destroy his marriage, his reputation in the neighborhood, and force his wife to face truths she had been hiding for years. The living room smelled of burnt coffee, that coffee Ashley had left on the stove all afternoon while talking on the phone with her mother, laughing about something I couldn't quite hear. The ceiling light was flickering. I had changed that bulb myself 3 weeks earlier. Climbing a ladder with my 61 years on my back and my left knee that crunches every time I climb stairs. The air was heavy, dense, as if the house itself knew that something irrevocable was about to break. My hands trembled as I zipped up the suitcase, not from fear, but from contained rage, a cold rage I had been storing for exactly 365 days. The hardwood floor creaked under my feet as I walked toward the door. That floor that I had cleaned every morning for 3 years, on my knees, with my own hands. I felt the metallic taste of betrayal in my mouth, like when you accidentally bite the inside of your cheek and the blood surprises you. It had been barely 13 months since that first phone call, a year and a month since I helped him with all my money. I could hear my son's heavy breathing behind me, angry, impatient, as if I were a nuisance he was finally getting rid of. I didn't cry yet. No, but before I continue, let me ask you something. Check if you're subscribed to this channel and leave a like if you want to know how this all ended. And tell me in the comments where you are listening from right now. I need to know how far these words, which took so much courage to say out loud, have traveled. Do you know what the first sign was that something was wrong? It wasn't that Tuesday in November. It was a year earlier, on a Friday, September 22nd. It was 18 inches the morning, when my phone rang. My son, his voice sounded tired, defeated. "Mom, I need to ask you a huge favor. Ashley and I are going through a really tough time. I lost my job 2 months ago. We haven't been able to pay the mortgage. The kids don't have enough to eat. Could you help us? Just for a while. I promise." My heart broke hearing those words. My boy, my Jason, the same one I had raised alone after his father abandoned us when he was 7. The same one I made pancakes for at 5, 30 inches the morning before going to work at the county clerk's office. The same one for whom I worked double shifts for 4 years to pay for the private university he wanted so badly. I gave him everything I had in the bank that same day, $30,000. My savings of 12 years, the money I had gathered penny by penny to fix the roof of my small condo that leaked every time it rained. I gave him my future. I gave him my security. I gave him everything, because that's what a mother does, right? But it wasn't enough. 2 weeks later, he called me again. "Mom, the money is gone. The debts are piling up, and Ashley is pregnant again. We need more help." He paused. A long pause. So long that I could hear the kids screaming in the background. "Could you come live with us? That way you can watch the kids while Ashley and I look for work, and you could help with some expenses just until we stabilize." I should have said no. I should have protected the little I had left. But when I heard my 4-year-old grandson crying in the background, when I imagined those children going hungry, when I thought of my son sleeping on the street with his family, I couldn't refuse. I sold my home, that 2-bedroom condo I had bought with so much sacrifice, the home where my son took his first steps, the home where we celebrated every Christmas, every birthday, every important moment of our lives. I sold it for 220 000, a ridiculous price because I needed to sell it fast. I gave $150,000 to my son to pay off his debts. I kept the rest in an emergency savings account. I packed my entire life into 4 suitcases. I gave away my furniture. I left behind 30 years of memories and moved into my son's house. October 1st, a gray Tuesday. It was raining. I remember the smell of wet asphalt when I got out of the Uber. I remember my hands were cold. I remember Ashley opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Welcome, Margaret. I hope you feel comfortable here." She didn't call me Mom or even Mrs. Miller, just Margaret, as if we were two strangers sharing a space. But I smiled, hugged my grandkids, kissed my son on the forehead, and walked into what would be my new home. Do you know what the first thing I noticed was? The house was immaculate, clean, organized, with new furniture, a massive flat-screen TV in the living room, stainless steel appliances in the kitchen, expensive art on every wall. This doesn't look like the home of someone with no money, I thought. But I didn't say anything yet. No. They showed me my room, the smallest room in the house. It was actually a converted den with no windows, just a twin bed and a tiny closet. It smelled stale, like a forgotten space, a place where you store things you no longer use. But I smiled and said, "It's perfect. Thank you for having me." That night, while unpacking my clothes in that windowless room, while folding my old blouses and hanging them in that tiny closet, I heard voices in the living room. Laughter. My son and Ashley were celebrating something. I peeked through the door. They were toasting with red wine, expensive wine. I could see the bottle. I saw the price once at the liquor store, a $100 bottle of Napa Cabernet. "We finally got rid of that second mortgage," Ashley said, raising her glass. "Your mom saved us. Now we can breathe." My son clinked his glass against hers. "Here's to Mom, for her generosity." Generosity. That word hung in the air like smoke. It wasn't generosity. It was sacrifice. It was love. It was a mother giving everything for her son, but for them it was just generosity, as if I were a donor giving to charity. Not his mother, not his family, just someone generous. I closed my bedroom door, sat on that twin bed, took a deep breath, and for the first time, I felt something strange in my chest. Something small, something I could barely recognize. Doubt. But I ignored it because that's what mothers do, right? We ignore the signs, we forgive the unforgivable, we justify the unjustifiable, all for love. What I didn't know then was that this small doubt would turn into certainty, and that certainty would lead me to take decisions that would change everything forever. But I'll get to that. The first week was quiet, too quiet. I woke up at 5:30 a.m., made breakfast for everyone, scrambled eggs, bacon, pancakes. I woke my grandkids, dressed them, combed their hair, packed their backpacks for school. Ashley came down at 8, already showered and dressed, grabbed a cup of coffee, and left without saying thank you. My son came down 15 minutes later. He ate in silence, looking at his phone. I washed the dishes while they left. It seemed normal. It seemed like I was helping my family. It seemed like my sacrifice made sense. But something changed on the Monday of the second week. It was 10:43 a.m. I was cleaning the bathroom on the second floor, the bathroom my grandkids used. I had found mold in the corners of the shower. Black mold, dangerous for small children. I was on my knees scrubbing with bleach when I heard someone coming up the stairs. Ashley was carrying shopping bags, lots of bags. I heard the rustle of glossy paper, the jingling of hangers. She went into her bedroom without seeing me. She dropped the bags on the bed and started pulling out clothes, new blouses, shoes, a leather handbag. I peeked from the bathroom door. "Ashley, did you go shopping?" She turned around. She looked at me as if she had just remembered I existed. "Oh, yeah. I needed to update my wardrobe for job meetings. First impressions, you know? Did you get a job?" "Not yet, but I have an interview next week. I have to look professional." I nodded. I closed the bathroom door and kept scrubbing the mold. But something didn't add up. New clothes before getting the job? How much had she spent? I looked at the bags through the crack in the door. I recognized the logos, high-end department stores, very expensive. That afternoon, when I gathered the dirty laundry from the hamper, I found the receipt in the pocket of Ashley's pants. I unfolded it. My hands shook when I saw it. $850 in a single day on clothes she might never wear. I kept that receipt. I don't know why I did it. I just felt I should keep it. I put it in the pocket of my denim jacket. The same jacket my sister had given me 8 years ago, the only jacket I had. That night during dinner, my son mentioned something that froze my blood. "Mom, I need to ask you another favor. The bills this month are tough. Could you help us with $1,500? Just this month. I promise next month we'll have jobs." I looked at Ashley. She kept eating her grilled chicken as if nothing was wrong. Without guilt, without shame. She had spent $850 on clothes that morning, and now my son was asking me for $1,500 for bills. I gave him the money. I took the card from my savings account and went to the ATM. The next day, I saw the balance drop $68,500 remaining of the $70,000 I had left after giving Jason the $150,000. $1,500 came out of that machine. I put it in an envelope. I gave it to my son that night. He took it without looking me in the eyes. "Thanks, Mom. You're the best." But I wasn't the best. I was the fool. The naive one. The one who kept believing that a mother's love could change things. The months passed October, November, December. Every month the same story. "Mom, we need help with the electric bill. Mom, the kids need school supplies. Mom, the car broke down. Mom, Mom, Mom." I gave, I helped, I sacrificed, because that's what a mother does. I gave them money for the electric bill, but 2 days later, I saw they installed professional Christmas lights all over the facade of the house. Expensive lights that consumed electricity day and night, blinking in colors while I turned off the lamp in my windowless room to save money. I gave them money for school supplies, but the next week I saw my son arrive with a new Apple Watch on his wrist, Series 9, $450, according to the ads I saw. I gave them money to fix the car, but the car remained the same, unfixed. With the same noise in the engine, with the same worn tire. Where was my money going? What were they really spending it on? I started paying attention. Observing. Documenting. In silence. Every time they asked me for money, I saved the transfer receipt. Every time I found a shopping receipt, I photographed it with my phone before throwing it away. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with that information. I just knew that something was deeply wrong and that one day, maybe, I would need proof. Christmas arrived. On December 24th, I spent the entire day cooking from 6, 0 inches the morning until 4, 0 inches the afternoon. Stuffed turkey, honey-baked ham, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, dinner rolls, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, apple pie. I prepared a dinner for 12 people. My hands smelled of sage and butter. My back ached from standing so long. But I did it with love because it was Christmas, because it was my family. I set the table with care. I took out the good china, the silverware, the cloth napkins I had ironed myself, 12 places for my son, Ashley, my 2 grandkids, Ashley's parents, her sister, her brother-in-law, her 3 nephews, and me. At 5 p.m., when everything was ready, when the house smelled like heaven and the table looked like a Christmas card, my son came down the stairs. He was dressed in elegant clothes, gray suit, blue tie, shiny shoes. "Mom, we're going to dinner at Ashley's parents' house. Didn't I tell you?" I stood motionless, holding a pitcher of iced tea in my hands. "What?" "Yeah," they insisted. "You know how they are. We can't say no to them." I looked at Ashley coming down the stairs with the kids already ready. I looked at the table set for 12 people. I looked at the food I had prepared for 10 hours. I looked at my wrinkled hands. And me? The question came out barely as a whisper. Ashley looked at me with something I can only describe as indifference. "You can stay here and enjoy the dinner. You made a lot of food. It'll last you several days." They left. I watched them get into the car. I watched them drive away. I watched the taillights disappearing at the corner. I stood in the dining room alone, looking at 12 empty chairs, looking at plates no one would use, looking at food that would get cold without anyone tasting it. I ate alone that Christmas, sitting at the head of that enormous table, with the sound of the grandfather clock as my only company. Every bite tasted of ash, of humiliation, of something that has no name. But I didn't cry. No. That night I took photos of the table, of the food, of the 12 empty chairs. I don't know why I did it. I just did. They returned at 11:30 at night, full, happy, laughing, smelling of wine and expensive perfume. "How was your dinner, Mom?" my son asked without really expecting an answer. "Very good," I replied. "Very good." But it wasn't good. Nothing was good. And in that moment, something inside me began to break. Slow, silent, irreparable. What I didn't know then was that Christmas was just the rehearsal, the test, to see how far they could go, to see how much I could endure before breaking. And believe me when I tell you that they were just getting started. January arrived with cold and with bills. On January 3rd, a Friday, it was 7:18 inches the morning when my son entered the kitchen with an envelope in his hand. His face was serious, worried. "Mom, we have a problem. The credit cards are maxed out. We owe $25,000. The interest is killing us. If we don't pay soon, they're going to sue us." I felt the floor move beneath my feet. $25,000. How had they accumulated so much? But I already knew the answer. The shopping bags, the Apple Watch, the dinners out, the Christmas lights, the whims disguised as necessities. "I only have $45,000 left in my account," I told him. "It's all I have." My son sat in front of me, took my hands. "Mom, you know I wouldn't ask you this if it weren't urgent. Give me what you have. Even if it's $30,000, anything helps. I promise that in March, when Ashley gets that job she's waiting for, we'll pay you back everything with interest. I swear on my children." He swore on his children. On those kids I bathed every night. Those kids I made breakfast for every morning. Those kids who called me grandma and hugged me when they were scared. I gave him $30,000. I had $15,000 left. $15,000 out of the $220,000 I got for selling my home. Out of my entire life converted into cash. I only had $15,000 remaining and 3 months living under that roof. But things will get better, I told myself. They have to get better. And for a moment, they seemed to improve. The following week, my son was different kind. Attentive, he brought me flowers on Tuesday, white daisies, my favorites. "Thanks for everything, Mom. I don't know what we'd do without you. You are the pillar of this family." Ashley cooked on Wednesday, something she never did. She made lasagna. It wasn't very good, it was a little burnt on the edges, but the gesture was beautiful. "I want you to rest today, Margaret. You do so much for us." The kids made me a drawing on Thursday with colored crayons, 3 figures holding hands, me, them, and a huge sun in the corner. "We love you, Grandma," it said with crooked letters. I breathed a sigh of relief. Maybe they had reflected. Maybe they finally understood my sacrifice. Maybe all the pain was worth it. But then came Friday. It was 2:37 inches the afternoon. I was folding clothes in my room when I heard a knock at the front door. Voices, laughter. I went down the stairs. My son and Ashley were in the entryway with a man in a suit carrying folders, a financial advisor. They went into the living room, closed the door. I stayed in the kitchen, but I could hear fragments of the conversation through the wall. "With the money my mom gave us, we paid the urgent stuff. But we need a larger loan to wipe everything out and start from zero. How much do you need?" $100,000. "With that, we pay all the debts and have a cushion for 6 months. The advisor's voice sounded calculating, cold. "Do you have a cosigner? Properties? Something to back the loan?" There was silence, a long silence that made my skin crawl. Then I heard Ashley's voice, clear, firm, unwavering. "My mother-in-law has a Social Security check and a state pension, about $1,200 a month total. We can put her down as the cosigner. She lives with us. She has no expenses. She can sign." I felt like I was sinking. They wanted to use my Social Security, my only income, the small check I received every month after working 32 years at the county clerk's office. They wanted to tie me to a debt I hadn't created. They wanted to ensure that if they didn't pay, I would lose even that. I didn't leave the kitchen. I didn't say anything. I stood still, breathing slowly, listening. "That's perfect," said the advisor. "With that cosigner, I can approve the loan in a week." That night, during dinner, my son brought up the topic casually, like someone commenting on the weather. "Mom, we met a financial advisor. He can help us consolidate our debts. We just need you to sign some papers. It's purely a formality. You don't even have to pay anything. It's just to back the loan." I looked him in the eyes. Those eyes I had known since he was born. Those eyes that once looked at me with infinite love. Now they looked at me with something different, with calculation, with need, with the certainty that I would say yes, as always. "And if I can't sign?" His expression changed. The kindness evaporated like water on a hot skillet. "What do you mean you can't?" "It's just your signature, Mom. It costs you nothing, but my pension would be compromised. It's just a formality. Nothing is going to happen. I promise you. That word again. Promise. A word that had lost all meaning in that house. Let me think about it, I said. Ashley dropped her fork onto her plate. The sound resonated in the dining room, metal against ceramic, sharp, violent. After everything we've done for you, we gave you a roof, food, a family. I sold my house to give you $150,000 plus another $30,000 plus everything else. I gave you almost all my money. I watch your kids without charging a dime. I clean this house. I cook every day. Does that not count? The silence that followed was worse than any scream. My son got up from the table. He didn't say anything. He just went to his room. Ashley followed him. The kids looked at me, confused. Grandma, are you okay? Yes, my love, keep eating. But I wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. That night, while everyone slept, I took my phone, opened the calculator, and added up all the money I had given them in 5 months. $150,000 from the house sale, initial gift, $30,000 recently, plus the smaller amounts, nearly $200,000. In 5 months, I had given them nearly $200,000, and now they treated me like I owed them something. Sometimes one gives so much that one forgets they deserve to receive too. Have you ever been treated like your sacrifice was worth nothing? Like giving everything was your obligation? Share your story in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone in this. I took screenshots of all the bank transfers. I saved them in a hidden folder on my phone, a folder I named Personal Documents. No one would check something with such a boring name. There, I started saving everything. Every receipt, every photo of a bill I found, every text message where they asked me for money. I didn't know exactly what I would do with that. Not yet. I just knew I needed proof because something inside told me this wouldn't end well, that a day would come when I would need to prove the truth, and that day I wanted to be prepared. Only 43 days remained until I would leave that house with my suitcase in hand. 43 days for my son to scream those words that would change everything. 43 days for me to dial that number I had saved in my phone for years. The number of my friend Sarah, a family law attorney, the same one who had told me 5 years ago when we still worked together at the county office. Margaret, if you ever need legal help, call me. Doesn't matter the time, doesn't matter the reason. Call me. But I didn't know it yet. I still believed things could be fixed. I still had hope. Hope is dangerous. It makes you blind. It makes you vulnerable. It makes you stay in places you should abandon. And I stayed one more day, one more week, one more month, until I couldn't take it anymore. February was the month the masks fell off completely. February 14th, Valentine's Day. It was 9:01 a.m. when I went down to make breakfast like every day. I found the kitchen empty. Strangely empty. No dirty dishes, no sign that anyone had eaten yet. I went up to the second floor. My son's bedroom door was open. The bed was made, the closet half empty. I knocked on the kids' bedroom door, also empty. Beds unmade, toys scattered on the floor, but no children. I felt panic rising in my throat. Where were they? I dialed my son's phone. It rang 5 times. Finally, he answered. His voice sounded distant. Echoey. Mom, we're in Cancun. We decided to take a few days as a family. The kids needed a vacation. We'll be back Sunday. Cancun? When did you decide that? Last night. It was a last-minute decision. We got an incredible deal. We couldn't pass it up. And why didn't you tell me? There was a pause, a long pause where I heard waves in the background, kids laughing, music. We forgot. Sorry. But rest. Enjoy the house to yourself. He hung up without saying goodbye, without asking how I was, without considering that maybe I needed a vacation too, that maybe I was tired too. I sat in the living room, in that huge, empty, silent house. I opened Facebook. There it was, Ashley's post from 3 hours ago, a photo at the airport. Her, my son, the kids, all smiling. The text said, "Finally, a well-deserved vacation. No strings attached, no obligations. Just the 4 of us. Number family, number blessed, number Cancun. No strings attached, no obligations." I was the string. I was the obligation. I checked more posts. Photos of the resort. 5-star hotel, infinity pool with an ocean view, room with a private balcony, lobster buffet, the kids in life jackets on the beach, my son with a cocktail in his hand, Ashley in a white dress floating in the wind. I searched for how much that resort cost. I found the page. Family suite over Valentine's weekend. 4 nights, $7,500, all inclusive. I stared at the screen. $7,500, nearly half of the last chunk of money I had given them. Spent in 4 days of pleasure, while I ate oatmeal every morning to save, while I wore the same clothes I'd had for 5 years, while I turned off the lights in my windowless room not to raise the electric bill. I took a screenshot, saved it in my hidden folder, photograph number 63. I spent those 4 days alone, cleaning a house that didn't belong to me, cooking for no one, waiting for someone to call me, text me, ask me how I was. No one did. They returned Sunday at 10:40 p.m., tanned, relaxed, happy. The kids ran to hug me. "Grandma, we missed your quesadillas." Ashley walked past me without saying hello. My son left the suitcases in the entryway. "It was an incredible trip, Mom. You should travel more. It's good for the soul. You should travel more." As if I had money, as if I had freedom, as if I weren't here precisely because I had given everything for them. I didn't say anything. I just smiled, nodded, and went to my room without a window while they unpacked gifts and souvenirs from a place they never invited me to. But the worst was yet to come. February 28th, a Saturday. Ashley organized a family gathering at the house. She invited her parents, her siblings, her aunts, her cousins, 23 people in total. She asked me to cook for everyone. "Margaret, you cook so well. Nobody makes BBQ brisket like you. Please, it's important to me." I cooked for 2 days. Slow-cooked brisket, ribs, potato salad, coleslaw, homemade mac and cheese, cornbread, iced tea, lemonade, 3 different desserts. My feet swelled, my back screamed in pain, but I did it because still, against all logic, I wanted to be part of that family. The gathering started at 3 p.m. They all arrived, elegant, perfumed, with bottles of wine and gifts. They sat in the living room, in the dining room, in the backyard. They ate, laughed, toasted. I served. I picked up plates, filled glasses, brought more food, cleaned spills, as if I were the hired help, as if I weren't the mother of the owner of the house, as if I weren't the woman who had made it possible for them to have that roof over their heads. No one thanked me. No one offered me a seat. No one included me in the conversations until Ashley's mother, a 8-year-old woman with a pearl necklace and red lipstick, asked out loud, "Ashley, who is she? Did you hire new domestic help?" The dining room went silent. All conversations stopped. 22 pairs of eyes looked at me, waiting. My son opened his mouth to speak, but Ashley spoke first with a smile, with a sweet, poisoned voice. "That's Margaret, Jason's mom. She lives with us. She helps us with the kids and the house. It's like having a full-time nanny. Very convenient. A nanny." She called me a nanny, in front of her whole family. I felt the heat rising up my neck, my cheeks. My hands shook, holding a pitcher of lemonade. But I didn't cry. I didn't complain. I didn't say anything. I simply put the pitcher on the table, took off my apron, folded it carefully, and said with a calm that scared even me, "Enjoy your meal." I went up the stairs, entered my room, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and breathed. I breathed deep. Once, twice, 3 times. I didn't go down all afternoon. I didn't cry yet. I listened to the laughter, the music, the goodbyes. When everyone left, when the house finally fell silent, I heard footsteps coming up the stairs. My son knocked on my door. "Mom, are you okay?" "I'm sorry." Ashley was a little blunt. You know how she is. She didn't mean it in a bad way. I opened the door, looked at him. Didn't mean it in a bad way? She called me nanny in front of 23 people. She treated me like I was her employee. Me, who sold my house for you. Me, who gave you all my money. Me, who watches your kids without charging a dime. This is how you pay me? He sighed, tired, frustrated. "You're exaggerating, Mom. You're being so dramatic. It's always like this. Everything is a drama with you. Dramatic." That word stabbed into my chest like a knife. I closed the door gently, controlled, without slamming it. Because that's what we do when we have the last crumbs of dignity left. We don't scream, we don't break things, we just close doors softly, definitively. That night, I called my friend Sarah, the lawyer. It was 11:52 p.m. She answered on the second ring. "Margaret, what happened?" And then, yes, then, for the first time in 6 months, I cried. I told her everything. Every dollar given, every humiliation endured, every broken promise, every swallowed lie. Sarah listened in silence. When I finished, when I had no more words or tears left, she said something that changed everything. "Margaret, have you documented anything? Do you have proof?" "I have everything. Every transfer, every receipt, every message, every photograph. Perfect. Keep it safe and listen to me carefully. Do not sign anything. Do not give them one more dollar. And if things get worse, call me immediately. We are going to protect you, I promise." But unlike my son's promises, Sarah's promise sounded true, solid, real. Only 12 days remained until everything exploded. 12 days for my son to point to the door and scream those words I never imagined hearing from his mouth. 12 days for me to take my suitcase and dial that number again. And this time it wouldn't be to cry, it would be to act. But I didn't know it yet. I still thought that maybe, just maybe, a mother's love could fix the irreparable. How wrong I was. March arrived with stifling heat and with the truth. On March 5th, a Wednesday, it was 4:17 p.m. I was cleaning my son and Ashley's bedroom. They had gone out to an appointment with the financial advisor. The kids were at school. The house was silent, a silence that allowed me to think, remember, process everything that had happened. I was changing the sheets on their bed when something fell from under Ashley's pillow, a small, hard-bound green notebook. It opened as it fell. I saw my name written on one of the pages Margaret dated August of the previous year, a month before I moved in with them. I shouldn't have opened it, I know, but when I saw my name there, I couldn't stop myself. My hands picked up that notebook. My eyes read the words written in Ashley's perfect handwriting, and what I read froze my blood. August 23. Operation Margaret. Jason spoke to his mom today. He told her he lost his job. Lie, he never lost it. But she believed it. He'll ask for money this week. If she gives enough, we can pay the credit card and still have enough left for the Cancun trip we want to take in February. I had to read that line 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, because my brain refused to process what my eyes were seeing. My son never lost his job. Never. It was all a lie from the beginning. I kept reading. My hands were shaking so much I could barely hold the notebook. September 8. It worked. Margaret sold her house, gave us $150,000. Jason says she has another $70,000 saved. We have to squeeze the rest out of her little by little. If we ask for it all at once, she might get suspicious. Better in monthly payments, rent, utilities, invented emergencies. September 15. Margaret moved in today. Jason gave her the windowless den. Perfect. The more uncomfortable she is, the less she'll want to stay long-term, but for now, we need her. She watches the kids for free. Cleans, cooks. It's like having an employee without paying her, and she still has money we can use. October 12. We asked for $1,500 for the mortgage. She gave it to us without asking. We used the money for the Christmas lights and Jason's Apple Watch. Margaret is so naive. She believes everything we tell her. My vision blurred. The words danced on the page. I felt bile rising in my throat. This couldn't be real. It couldn't be. But I kept reading because I needed to know. I needed to see how far the betrayal went. December 24. We left Margaret alone for Christmas. Jason said he felt bad, but I reminded him of the plan. The more miserable she feels, the easier she is to control. Guilt makes her generous, and we need her to keep being generous. January 3. We got another $30,000 out of her. She only has $15,000 left, according to Jason. We're almost done squeezing that lemon dry. When her money runs out, we'll see if she's still useful for anything. If not, we'll have to ask her to leave. But tactfully, we don't want her making a scene. February 14. Went to Cancun without telling her. Jason wanted to warn her, but I told him no. This isn't her family. It's our family. She's only here because we need her. When she stops being useful, she goes. My legs stopped holding me up. I sat on the floor. I held that notebook against my chest, and something inside me died, not noisily, not with drama, simply extinguished, like a candle running out of air. Everything had been planned. Every lie, every fake tear, every empty hug, every broken promise, everything was calculated, designed, executed, with precision. My son knew. My son participated. My son lied to my face while I sold my house, while I gave him my savings, while I sacrificed my future for him. And Ashley orchestrated it all. With her green notebook, with her perfect handwriting, with her cold and calculated plan to take every last dollar from me. I took photographs of every page, 23 pages in total. 23 pages of proof of documented cruelty, of evil with pretty handwriting. I sent them to Sarah via text. She responded in 3 minutes. Margaret, this is gold. This is evidence of fraud, financial manipulation, emotional abuse. Don't delete anything and get out of that house as soon as possible. But I couldn't leave yet because I had nowhere to go. $15,000 wasn't enough to rent a place long-term, barely enough for a deposit and a few months in this market. I was trapped in a house that hated me, with people who viewed me as a useful object to be discarded when it no longer served a purpose. I put the notebook back exactly where I found it, under Ashley's pillow. I finished changing the sheets, smoothed out the wrinkles, arranged the pillows as if nothing had happened, as if my world hadn't collapsed 10 minutes ago. I went down the stairs, made coffee, poured myself a cup, sat at the kitchen table, and waited. While I tell you this, I wonder, where could you be listening to me from? From a big city? From a small town? Write the name of your city in the comments. I need to know that my words are reaching someone, that someone hears me, that I am not completely alone in this. They returned at 6:30, entered laughing with a bag of Chinese takeout. They didn't even ask me if I was hungry. They sat in the living room, ate straight from the cartons, talking about their day, their plans, their bright future. I stayed in the kitchen invisible, irrelevant, useful only when they needed something. That night, when everyone was sleeping, I pulled a shoebox from under my bed. There, I had kept all the important documents I still had left. My birth certificate, my ID, my social security paperwork, the papers from the sale of my house, the receipts of all the bank transfers. I organized them one by one with care, as I used to do at the clerk's office when preparing files chronologically, by category, by relevance. I made a handwritten index, numbered every document, every photograph, every piece of proof. 218 documents in total. 218 pieces of evidence that proved my version of the story, that demonstrated the truth, that would protect me when everything exploded. Because something inside me knew it would explode. Soon, only 7 days remained until I walked out of that house with my suitcase in hand. 7 days for my son to scream those words that would change everything. 7 days for me to mark that calendar. But when that moment arrived, I would be prepared. Because I was no longer the naive woman who sold her house trusting empty promises. I was no longer the blind mother justifying the unjustifiable. I was no longer the silent victim accepting crumbs of dignity. Now I was something else, something more dangerous, something they never saw coming. I was a woman with proof, with contacts, with knowledge of the law, and with a lawyer friend who had spent 3 weeks preparing documents that Ashley and my son didn't even imagine existed. I called Sarah in the middle of the night. It was 2:34 a.m. How much time do you need to prepare everything? 1 week. Give me a week, and I'll have everything ready. Civil lawsuit for fraud, undue influence, unjust enrichment, request for reimbursement of funds obtained by deception. And Margaret, I warn you, when we file this, there is no going back. Are you sure? I looked out the window of my room. The darkness outside was total, silent, absolute. I'm sure. Prepare everything. I'll tell you when. And then I knew the countdown had begun. 7 days to the end of the world, just as they knew it. 7 days for them to learn that a mother has limits, that love can turn into justice, that broken promises have consequences. 7 days for the truth. The following days were a performance. I acted like everything was normal. They acted like they loved me. We all acted in a play where everyone knew the script except them, because they didn't know I had found their green notebook. They didn't know that every fake smile they gave me, I documented mentally. They didn't know the ending of their play was already written. On March 8th, Saturday, it was 10:04 a.m. Ashley entered the kitchen with a red folder under her arm. She found me washing breakfast dishes. "Margaret, I need you to sign this today. It's urgent. The financial advisor needs the papers before Monday." The red folder contained the loan contract, $100,000. With my Social Security as collateral, I reviewed every page, read every line calmly, without rushing, just as I did at the office reviewing legal documents. Ashley watched me impatiently, tapping her foot, drumming her fingers on the table. I reached page 7. The default clause: if the borrower fails to pay for 3 consecutive months, the cosigner must cover the full debt plus accumulated interest of 28% annually. 28%. I looked at Ashley. "Do you know how much 28% of $100,000 is in a year?" She blinked. "I don't know. It doesn't matter. We aren't going to stop paying. It's $128,000 in 1 year. If you don't pay for 3 months, I would have to pay that with my pension of $1,200 a month. It would take me years. I'm 61 years old." Ashley sighed, frustrated. "For God's sake, Margaret, that's not going to happen. Stop being so negative. You always look for problems where there aren't any." I closed the folder, pushed it toward her. "I'm not going to sign." Her expression changed. The mask of patience cracked. "What did you say?" "I'm not going to sign. I'm not going to risk my pension. I'm sorry." She stood up from the chair. The chair screeched against the ceramic floor. "After everything we've done for you? We gave you a home, we gave you a family, and now you don't want to do this small favor for us? I gave you almost $200,000. I sold my house for you. I watch your kids for free. I clean, I cook, I do everything in this house. What more do you want from me? I want your signature on this damn paper. That's what I want." The word damn sounded like a slap, but I didn't move, I didn't react. I just looked at her with that cold calm I had been practicing. That calm that scares more than any scream. "I'm not going to sign, and if you don't like it, I can leave." Ashley laughed. A dry, bitter laugh. "Leave? To where? You have no house. You have no money. You have nothing. You need us more than we need you." She left the kitchen, stomped up the stairs. I heard her talking to my son, voices raised, arguing, planning. And I stayed there standing by the sink, hands still wet, breathing slowly, counting. 5 days. Only 5 days left. That afternoon, my son came down to talk to me. He entered the kitchen where I was making dinner. His face was serious. "Mom, we have to talk." I sat down. He sat across from me. He took my hands, but this time his touch felt different, cold, calculated, not loving. "You can't keep living here if you aren't going to collaborate with the family. Ashley and I have talked. We need you to sign those papers, or we need you to look for another place to live." There was the direct threat, without disguises. I looked him in the eyes, those eyes I had known since he was born. Those eyes that once looked at me with infinite love when he was a little boy with a fever and I took care of him all night. Those eyes that cried in my lap when his father abandoned us. Those eyes that shone with pride the day he graduated college thanks to my money. Those eyes now looked at me with coldness, with hardness, with something I didn't want to recognize but was undeniably there: resentment. "I understand," I said. "Give me a few days to think. You have until Tuesday. That's it. 4 days." He gave me 4 days to decide between my dignity and a roof. I chose my dignity. That night at 11:52 p.m., I called Sarah. "I need you to file everything Monday morning. First thing." "Are you sure? Once we do this, Margaret, there is no turning back. Your relationship with your son will be destroyed, maybe forever." "It's already destroyed, Sarah. I was just too blind to see it a long time ago." "Okay. Monday at 9 a.m., the documents will be at the civil court. Lawsuit for fraud, financial manipulation, request for repayment of funds obtained by deception. And Margaret, there is something else. With the proof you have, especially that notebook, we can prove premeditation. This wasn't a family misunderstanding. It was planned fraud. That has criminal consequences. Criminal consequences. He could face felony charges, prison, a record, loss of temporary custody of the children during the investigation. Do you want to go that far? I thought of my grandkids, those innocent children who were guilty of nothing. I thought of how they would feel if their father went to prison, how it would affect them. But then I thought of the green notebook, of the words written in perfect handwriting, of the coldness of the plan, of the lies, the manipulation, of how they had squeezed me like a lemon and planned to throw me away when I was no longer useful. I thought of all the mothers like me, all the women who give everything for their children and end up betrayed, humiliated, abandoned, used, and I made a decision. Go as far as you have to go with all the consequences. He chose this path when he decided to lie to me, when he decided to steal from me, when he decided to treat me like trash. The consequences are his, not mine. Understood. Monday at 9. I hung up. I sat in the darkness of my windowless room, holding my phone, feeling the weight of what I had just done. There were no tears. I had none left. There was only a cold, hard, definitive certainty. Tomorrow would be Sunday, the last Sunday in that house. Then Monday, the day the bomb would explode. And Tuesday, the day my son would kick me out without knowing it was too late, that the papers would already be filed, that justice would already be in motion, that the countdown had reached 0. I spent all of Sunday organizing my things, quiet, methodical. I folded every piece of clothing, packed every personal object, 2 suitcases. That was all I had left of a 1-year life. 2 suitcases that fit in the windowless room of the house I helped save. I kept the most important documents in my purse, the copies I had left with Sarah, but the originals would come with me just in case. I ate dinner alone that night. Ashley and my son went out for pizza with the kids. They didn't invite me. They didn't even bother to pretend anymore. I ate cold oatmeal, sitting at the kitchen table listening to the wall clock. Every second that passed was 1 second less. Every minute that advanced was 1 minute closer to the end. I washed my bowl, my spoon, my mug, dried them, put them away, cleaned the table, swept the floor, left everything impeccable not because they deserved it, but because I am like that. Because 32 years working in a clerk's office taught me to leave everything in order, to close every file correctly, to finish every case with professionalism. And this was my last case, the most important, the most painful, the most personal. I went up to my room at 8:17 p.m. I lay down fully dressed. I didn't sleep. I just waited, counting the hours, the minutes, the seconds. At 9 a.m. on Monday, Sarah would file the documents. At 10, the court would issue the notifications. At 11, a process server would arrive at the door of this house with a certified envelope, and my son would open that envelope without knowing his life had just changed forever. I wouldn't be there to see it, because before that happened, I would already be gone. Not because they kicked me out, but because I chose to leave with my head held high, with my suitcases in hand, with my dignity intact. Because in the end, that was the only thing I really had left, the only thing they couldn't take from me, the only thing worth saving. My dignity, my truth, my justice. Only 18 hours remained until Tuesday, November 12th, until 8:47 p.m., until the words that would change everything, until the moment my son would point to the door and scream that I was no longer part of his family. But he didn't know something. He didn't know that I no longer wanted to be part of his family. He didn't know that I had already chosen to leave. He didn't know that when he pointed to that door, I already had a plan, a destination, a future that didn't include people who saw me as a disposable object. I closed my eyes, not to sleep, but to prepare myself for the final act of this play, for the ending they never saw coming. And I waited in silence, in the darkness, like thunder waiting after lightning, because the storm was about to begin. Tuesday, November 12th. The day finally arrived. I woke up at 5:30 as always, but I didn't go down to make breakfast. I stayed in my room, sitting on the edge of the bed, listening to the sounds of the house waking up without me, footsteps upstairs, confused voices asking where I was, why breakfast wasn't ready. I showered, dressed in my most dignified clothes, a white cotton blouse my mother had given me 20 years ago, simple black pants, comfortable shoes. I combed my hair in front of the small mirror, looked myself in the eyes, those tired eyes, full of history, of pain, of strength I didn't know I had. Today, everything ends, I told myself. One way or another, today it ends. At 9:14 a.m., I received a text from Sarah. Done. Documents filed, notifications issued. The process server will arrive between 2 and 3 p.m. Are you okay? I replied. I'm ready. I went down at 10. The kitchen was a disaster. Dirty dishes piled up, milk spilled on the table. The kids had eaten cereal straight from the box. Ashley was furious. "Where were you? The kids were late for school. There was no breakfast. What is wrong with you?" "I don't feel well," I said. "I'm going to rest today." She snorted. "How convenient. Just the day we need to talk about the papers we asked you to sign. I already gave you my answer." "I'm not going to sign." Her face turned red. The veins in her neck stood out. "You know what, Margaret? I'm sick of this. Sick of your attitude, sick of your drama, sick of having you here as if you were doing us a favor. You asked me to come here, and it was a mistake. A huge mistake." She stomped up the stairs, slammed her bedroom door. The sound resonated through the whole house like a gunshot. I stayed in the living room waiting because I knew what was coming. I could feel it in the air, tense, electric, like before a storm. At 2:27 p.m., there was a knock at the door. 3 loud, official knocks. I heard my son run down the stairs. I heard the door open. I heard a male voice, process server. "I have a notification for Mr. Jason Miller and Mrs. Ashley Miller." "Notification of what?" "Civil lawsuit. You must sign for receipt." Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then the sound of paper being torn, of an envelope opening, of pages turning, and then the scream. "What the hell is this?" Ashley ran down. "What's wrong?" "My mother is suing us for fraud, for $215,000. She says we deceived her, that she has a notebook as proof." "What notebook?" I saw Ashley's face change, from confusion to comprehension to pure terror. The notebook, the green notebook, her diary of malice, her written confession, her fatal error. She brought her hands to her mouth. "No, no, no, I had it hidden." "How did she find it?" "I found it," I said from the living room. My voice sounded calm, cold, powerful. "On March 5th, when I was cleaning your room, it fell from under your pillow. I read it all. Every lie, every plan, every cruel word. And I photographed every page." My son entered the living room. He held the lawsuit papers with trembling hands. His face had lost all color. "Mom, this can't be real. You can't do this to us. We're your family." I stood up. I looked him directly in the eyes. "You stopped being my family the day you decided to lie to me, the day you planned to rob me, the day you treated me like a useful object to be discarded when it no longer serves." Ashley started to cry, but they were tears of panic, not repentance. "Margaret, please, can we fix this? It was just a misunderstanding. I never wanted, you never wanted, what? To write a detailed plan of how to take all my money? Calling me a lemon to be squeezed dry? Leaving me alone on Christmas while you spent my money in Cancun? Calling me nanny in front of your family? What part was the misunderstanding?" My son took a step toward me. "Mom, don't do this. If you file this lawsuit, our reputation will be destroyed. Our jobs, our lives. You should have thought of that before." He changed. In a second, the final mask fell. Desperation turned into rage. Pure, uncontrolled, dangerous rage. He screamed with a voice I had never heard from him, a voice full of poison, of hate, of something unrecognizable. "Get out of this house, now. You are no longer part of this family. Get the hell out." There were the words. The same words I told you at the beginning. The words that would change everything. The words he could never take back. It was 8:47 p.m. The sun was setting. The orange light entered through the windows. The air smelled of burnt food Ashley had tried to cook and left something on the stove too long. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the tick-tock of the wall clock, my own heart beating slowly, controlled, calm. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't complain. I simply went up the stairs. My feet resonated on every step. I entered my windowless room, took my 2 suitcases. They were already packed, ready since yesterday. I went down. My son was at the door holding it open. His face was stone, hard, inflexible. Ashley was behind him, still crying, but not for me, for herself, for her destroyed future, for the consequences that had finally arrived. I walked toward the door, passed by my son, stopped, looked at him one last time, and said with a calm that even surprised me, "This is just beginning. In 3 days, you will receive a summons to appear before the judge. In a week, your bank accounts will be frozen during the investigation. In 2 weeks, your employer will receive notification of the lawsuit because we requested wage garnishment. And Jason, there is something else you should know. What? His voice trembled. Sarah reviewed everything. The notebook, the transfers, the deception. This isn't just a civil lawsuit. There is premeditation. There is documented fraud. That has criminal consequences. You could face felony charges, a criminal record. And during the investigation, Child Protective Services will review if you are fit to have custody of your children. I saw his legs almost give way, how he grabbed the doorframe not to fall, how reality hit him like a hammer. You can't do that to your grandkids. I'm not doing anything to them. You did. You chose this path. The consequences are yours, not mine. I walked out. The door closed behind me with a definitive force. I stood in the driveway with my 2 suitcases under the darkening sky, breathing the cold night air. Free. Finally free. I took out my phone, dialed Sarah's number. I'm on my way. I'm waiting for you. I have the guest room ready. And Margaret, there is something you should know. I just received a call from the court. Jason tried to withdraw the lawsuit. He offered to return the money immediately, everything with interest. If you drop the charges. And what did you tell them? That I would speak to you. That the decision is yours. What do you want to do? I walked toward the street, toward the Uber I had ordered, and that was already waiting. I put my suitcases in the trunk. I got into the back seat. I looked one last time at that house. That house I helped save. That house that squeezed me dry. That house where I lost my money but found my strength. Tell him it's too late. The documents are already filed. Justice is already in motion. And I already made my decision. I hung up. The Uber pulled away. The lights of that house got smaller in the rearview mirror until they disappeared completely, like a bad dream that finally ends. And for the first time in months, I smiled not with joy, not with vengeance, but with something deeper, with peace. I arrived at Sarah's place at 9:32 p.m. She lived in a small but cozy apartment downtown. She welcomed me with a hug, a real hug, one of those that holds you up when you feel like you're going to crumble. She helped me with the suitcases, showed me the guest room. A queen bed, a large window with blue curtains, natural light, space to breathe. You can stay as long as you need, she said. No pressure, no conditions. You are my friend, and this is what friends do. I sat on that bed, touched the clean sheets. They smelled of lavender, of clean, of a new beginning. And finally, after holding everything in for so long, I cried. Not from sadness, not from regret, from relief, from liberation, from knowing I had done the right thing, even though it was the hardest thing. Sarah sat next to me, let me cry, said nothing, just was there like a true friend, like the family you choose when blood family fails you. When I finally calmed down, when I had no more tears left, she spoke. We have to prepare for what's coming. This doesn't end here. They are going to try everything. Begging, threats, manipulation. You have to be ready. I'm ready. And I was. For the first time in months, I was completely ready. The following days were a whirlwind. On Wednesday morning at 6:43 a.m., my phone started ringing. My son, I ignored it. He called again. And again. And again. 17 missed calls in 2 hours. Texts, dozens of texts. Mom, please, we have to talk. This is a misunderstanding. We can fix it. Think of your grandkids. What will happen to them? I can't believe you're doing this. How can you be so cruel? I read every message without replying because there was nothing to say. Words were useless now, only facts, only justice, only consequences. Thursday, the court summons arrived. Jason and Ashley had to appear the following Monday before the judge. Sarah called me at 11 a.m. They tried to hire a lawyer. 3 lawyers rejected them. When they read the case and see the proof, especially the notebook, they know there is no defense. No one wants to take a losing case. On Friday at 3:18 p.m., I received a call from an unknown number. I answered. It was Ashley's mother. Her voice was hard, accusatory. You are a cruel and vindictive woman. My daughter told me everything. You old people always want to control your children. You never let them live in peace, always with your dramas and your demands. I took a deep breath. Ma'am, Your daughter and my son plan to steal $200,000 from me. They wrote it in a notebook with dates, with details, with coldness. That isn't drama. That is fraud, and it has legal consequences. You just want money. All old people are the same. They never have enough. I sold my house to help them. I gave them all my savings. I watched your grandkids without charging a dime. Does that seem like greed to you? She hung up without answering, because she had no answer. On Saturday, Ashley appeared at Sarah's apartment. I don't know how she got the address. She knocked on the door at 8:05 a.m. Sarah opened it. I stayed in my room, but I could hear everything. I need to talk to Margaret. Please, it's urgent. She doesn't want to talk to you. Just 5 minutes. I beg you. Sarah came to my room. Ashley is here. Do you want to see her? I thought about ignoring her, leaving her outside, denying her even those 5 minutes. But something in me needed to close this circle. I needed to look her in the eyes one last time. I needed to hear what she had to say now that everything had collapsed. Let her in. Ashley entered. She looked terrible. Deep circles under her eyes, unwashed hair, wrinkled clothes, trembling hands. She sat in the chair across from me, not on the bed. I kept that distance. Margaret, I came to ask for forgiveness. I know what we did was wrong, very wrong. But please, drop the lawsuit. Jason lost his job. He was fired when his boss found out. The bank froze our accounts. We can't pay the mortgage. We're going to be evicted. The kids are scared. This is affecting them. Please. For them. Drop the lawsuit and we'll return everything. Every dollar. I swear. With what money? If Jason lost his job, we'll sell the car, the furniture, whatever is necessary, but help us. Please. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I saw something I had never seen before. Real fear. Not fear of losing material things, fear of losing her children, fear that social services would deem them unfit, fear of facing the consequences of her actions. And in that moment, I had to make a decision. The hardest decision of my life. I could keep going, take this to the end, watch them lose everything, watch my son face criminal charges, watch my grandkids placed temporarily with another family during the investigation. I could collect every ounce of vengeance they owed me. Or I could choose something different. Something they never gave me. Mercy. I still ask myself if I did the right thing, if I should have been harder, more implacable, or if showing compassion was right. And you, what would you have done in my place? Would you have gone to the end regardless of the consequences, or would you have given a second chance? Tell me in the comments. Really, I want to know what you think. I looked at Ashley. I spoke with a voice that was calm, firm, definitive. I am going to do something. Not for you, not for Jason, for my grandkids, because they are innocent in all of this. I am going to ask Sarah to modify the lawsuit. We will remove the criminal portion. Only the civil lawsuit will remain. That means Jason won't face criminal charges. There won't be a social services investigation. You won't lose your kids. I saw hope lighting up her face, but I raised my hand. I'm not finished. But this comes with conditions. You are going to pay me back every dollar, $215,000 plus legal interest of 6% annually. Total $230,000. You have 2 years to pay it in monthly installments of roughly $9,500. If you are late on a single payment, the criminal complaint reactivates automatically. Understood? She nodded desperately. Yes, I accept whatever. And there is more. You will never ask me for money again. You will never contact me again unless I initiate it. I will live my life. You will live yours. I will see my grandkids once a month in a neutral place, without you present. Just me and them. Those are my conditions. I accept. I accept everything. Sarah is going to prepare a contract. You will sign it before a notary. If you break any condition, you lose everything. The criminal lawsuit returns, and this time there will be no mercy. This is your only chance. The only one you will ever get. Ashley stood up, ran toward me, tried to hug me. I pulled away. No. We don't do that anymore. We aren't family in that sense anymore. We are two people tied by a legal contract and 2 innocent children. Nothing more. She cried. Real tears, this time of shame, of regret, of finally understanding what she had lost. Not my money, but my trust, my love, my presence. The things money can never buy back. She left. Sarah entered. She looked at me with something resembling pride. You did the right thing. The hard thing, but the right thing. You think? Yes, because you chose justice over revenge. You chose to protect the children over punishing the adults. That requires more strength than being cruel. On Monday before the judge, the agreement was signed. Jason and Ashley accepted all conditions. The judge reviewed the case, looked at the green notebook, looked at the evidence, and said something I will never forget. Mrs. Miller, you have the legal right to pursue criminal charges. The evidence is overwhelming. However, I respect your decision to show clemency. But I want to be clear to the defendants. This is your only chance. If you violate this agreement in any way, you will face the full consequences of the law. Understood? Yes, Your Honor, they said in unison with small, defeated voices. We walked out of the courthouse. Jason was waiting for me outside. He looked broken, haggard, aged 10 years in a week. Mom, thank you. Thank you for not destroying us completely. I know we don't deserve it. No, you don't deserve it. But my grandkids deserve to have their father, and I deserve to have peace. So, we are going to do this. You are going to pay your debt. You are going to raise those children correctly. And you are going to live knowing that your mother, the woman you treated like trash, was more merciful to you than you were to me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. But I'm sorry doesn't return lost time. It doesn't erase words spoken. It doesn't heal wounds. Only time will tell if his repentance is real or just fear of consequences. I walked away. Sarah walked with me. We got into her car. As we drove away from the courthouse, I looked in the side mirror. I saw Jason and Ashley standing on the sidewalk. Small, lost, facing a future where every month, for 2 years, they would have to send me a payment, a constant reminder of what they did, of what they lost, of the consequences of treating people like disposable objects. It has been 3 months since then. I have received 3 payments on time, exact, without an additional word, just the transfer receipt. I saw my grandkids twice in a public park without their parents. I hugged them, played with them, bought them ice cream, told them I loved them. And when they asked why I didn't live with them anymore, I told them the truth adapted to their age. Sometimes adults have disagreements, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. I will always love you. I got a part-time job at a law office, administrative assistant, $15 an hour. With my Social Security and this job, I have enough to rent a small studio apartment. I found it last week. A place with 1 bedroom, a large window, natural light, a small but functional kitchen, and it's mine. Completely mine. I move in next week, and for the first time in a year, I feel something I had forgotten existed, hope. Not hope that things will go back to how they were before, that will never happen. Not hope that my son and I will have a close relationship again, maybe we never will. But hope that I can build a new life, a life where I am valued, where my dignity is not for sale, where the people around me choose me because they want to be with me, not because they can use me. Sometimes I look at the green notebook. Sarah returned the photographs to me after the judgment. I keep them in a folder, not to remember the pain, but to remember my strength, to remember that I survived, that I defended myself, that I chose justice over silence. And when I feel weak, when doubt visits me in the early morning asking if I was too hard or not hard enough, I open that folder, read those words written in perfect handwriting, and remember why I did what I did. Because I deserved more, because I deserved respect, because I deserved to be treated like a human being, not a piggy bank with legs, and because in the end, the only person who can really save you is yourself. Today is February 8th. It has been exactly 88 days since I left that house with my 2 suitcases. 88 days since my son screamed at me that I was no longer part of his family. 88 days since I chose my dignity over his roof. I am sitting in the living room of my new apartment. It is small, very small compared to the house where I lived for a year, but it is mine. The walls are white. I painted them myself last week. I have a second-hand armchair I bought at a thrift store, a table with 2 chairs, a comfortable bed, cream-colored curtains that let in the morning sun. And for the first time in a long time, I feel at home. Not because the place is luxurious, not because I have everything I want, but because no one here uses me. No one lies to me. No one writes in a green notebook how to take the little I have left. Here I am, simply Margaret, a 1-year-old woman who made the mistake of trusting too much, who learned the most painful lesson of her life, who survived, and who is now building something new on the ruins of what she lost. I received the 4th payment 3 days ago. $9,500, punctual like the previous ones. No message, no additional apology, just the receipt. I am saving every dollar in a savings account I opened specifically for this. When I reach the $230,000 in 2 years, I am going to take that money and do something I always wanted to do but never could. I am going to travel, alone, to see places I only saw in magazines, to eat in restaurants without feeling guilty, to buy myself new clothes without calculating every penny, to live, really live, not survive, not sacrifice myself. Live. Because I learned something in these 88 days. I learned that giving doesn't make you noble if the other person only takes. I learned that a mother's love isn't infinite when it gets confused with being used. I learned that family isn't just blood. Family is respect. It is reciprocity. It is valuing the sacrifice of the other. And I learned that sometimes the person who most needs rescuing is yourself. I saw my grandkids 2 weeks ago in the same park. They ran toward me with that pure joy only children have. Grandma, we missed you. When are you coming back to live with us? I'm not coming back, my love. But I will always be here for you every month in this same park. And when they grow up, when they are old enough to understand, I will tell them this story. Not so they hate their father, but so they learn something I learned too late. That people teach you how to treat them. That setting boundaries isn't being cruel. That saying no is an act of self-love. That you can love someone from a distance when being close destroys you. The boy looked at me with those huge eyes full of questions. Why don't you live with us, Grandma? Because sometimes adults need space to be happy, and I am learning to be happy again. He hugged me, and in that hug I felt something. Not guilt, not regret, but certainty. Certainty that I did the right thing, that I chose the difficult but necessary option, that I saved what really mattered, not the relationship, but my soul. A week ago I received a handwritten letter from my son. I recognized it by the handwriting. That handwriting I taught him to form when he was 5 years old. That handwriting he copied from me for so many years. The letter said, Mom, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what we did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that every day I carry the shame of what I did to you. Every night, when I tuck my kids in, I think about how you tucked me in with love, with patience, with sacrifice, and I ask myself, how could I repay you like that? I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking that we go back to being what we were. I just ask that you know this. I regret it with every fiber of my being. I regret it, and I am going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the man you deserve to have as a son, even if it's too late. I read that letter 3 times. I cried. I won't lie. I cried because a part of me, that maternal part that never dies completely, wanted to believe that the repentance was real, that we could heal, that we could go back to being something resembling a family. But then I put the letter in a drawer and I didn't respond. Not because I am cruel, not because I feel nothing, but because I learned that some wounds don't heal with words. Some doors, once closed, need to stay closed not out of revenge, but for survival. Maybe in the future, when the 2 years have passed, when they have made every payment, when they have shown with actions and not just words that they changed, maybe then we can talk. Maybe then I can consider building something new, not what we had that died, but something different. Something smaller, more honest, more real. But that day is not today. Today I am still healing. I am still learning to trust again. I am still rebuilding the Margaret they almost destroyed. And that's okay. It's okay to take time. It's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to say not yet. Yesterday, while walking through the market buying vegetables for the week, I saw an older woman, maybe my age. She was arguing on the phone. Her voice trembled. She was saying things like, "But honey, you're my daughter. How can you ask me that? I already gave you everything I had." And in that moment, I saw myself a year ago. Giving, justifying, believing that love could change people who don't want to change. I approached her when she hung up. "Excuse me, I don't mean to intrude, but I heard your conversation and I want to tell you something. You don't have to give until you have nothing left. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. It's okay to say no. It's okay to protect yourself. It's okay to choose yourself." She looked at me with tears in her eyes. "But how? She's my daughter, and I have a son." And he almost destroyed me until I understood that loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you. Sometimes the greatest love is self-love. She stayed silent, processing, and then nodded slowly, as if finally someone had given her permission to feel what she had been feeling for months. I gave her my phone number in case she ever needs to talk to someone who understands. Because in the end, that is what remains. Not the money recovered, not the revenge fulfilled, not the justice served. What remains is the capacity to help others who are where you were, to be the voice you needed to hear when you were in your darkest moment. "Get out of here, you useless old woman." Those were the words my son screamed at me 88 days ago. Words that broke my heart. Words that I thought would destroy me. But they didn't, because it turns out I wasn't useless. I was strong. I was capable. I was a survivor. I was a woman who knew the laws, who documented evidence, who made difficult decisions, who chose justice over silence. And today, while the sun enters through the window of my small apartment, while I drink my coffee in my favorite mug, while I plan my day without having to ask anyone for permission or sacrifice myself for anyone else, I understand something fundamental. Some words, when they are said to you, can liberate you. They can show you who you really are. They can push you toward the life you deserve but were afraid to claim. My son thought he was kicking me out. He thought he was punishing me. He thought that without them, I was nothing. But what he really did was give me the push I needed to save myself. And for that, in a strange and painful way, I almost thank him. Because now I am free. Finally. Completely. Painfully. Beautifully free. And that has no price.